Hey Nir.
Hey, how's it
Hey.
look?
Yeah, so it doesn't record on 4K. It will record on 1080, but Zoom
Hmm.
doesn't natively record on 4K. So that is that. Do you also have a webcam or no, you don't have a webcam?
I do. Do you want to try that one? I can
No,
switch over to.
what I want to do is we we talk on the webcam, but then you are recording yourself locally with the 4K camera. Like you're literally hitting record and then recording yourself. Is that
Let me see. How would I do that?
you disconnect it from
Um,
the computer
okay.
and
So
then press
do this
record?
one on HD. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if I, let's see. 4K. Okay, that's good. Okay. I'm recording. Oh, but then the audio, you'll have to sync up later?
I can, yeah. So
Okay.
what we'll do a Zoom recording. For the first part, we'll do a Zoom recording. Audio is running on Zoom, recording on Zoom. You're looking at me and talking to me. Great. Then we'll switch to part
Okay.
number two, continue the Zoom recording, but you will answer into the other camera. You look at the other camera and just hear me for that part. That's okay?
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So this part you don't need me to record on the other
No,
camera. Okay.
no. Just let it be on if you want. It's fine, but you don't
Okay.
have to record on it right now.
Okay.
You
I'll
don't have
I'll uh I'll save memory so the file is smaller when I send it to you later.
Super, sounds good. So let's do this one, and this is the shorter one. So
Okay.
I'm ready to go. This is looking good. I'm recording. Uh, you're looking good, and we will record at the count of. Why am I not here? Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, we will record at the count of zero. So three, two. Your latest book is Hooked, right? Or is it
No,
Indistractable?
indistractable.
Okay, all right. Three, two. Hey friends, this is Ian Khan here with the Undisrupted Summit. I have a really good friend of mine here with me, and in fact, he's the one who endorsed me for the book Undisrupted, and he's on my cover page. Nir Eyal, best-selling author. Welcome to the summit.
Great to be with you, Ian. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, you're one of those people who I call an intellectual bomb. You have so much to talk about. And this summit is really best-selling authors talking about their work, how they ended up doing what they do, and what are some of the teachings in one or more of their books that can really help people propel further this year, make 2025 great by using just one or two things that you advocate for. So, how did you end up where you are, Neil? Like in terms of your author journey, academic journey, thought leader journey? Tell us more about it.
Well, I've always followed my curiosity. So, as an author, that's when I really got the opportunity to do that professionally. So, I started a couple of tech companies. First, I started a solar energy business. Then, I started a company in the advertising and gaming space. And then I returned after that company was acquired. The second company was acquired. I returned to my first passion, which was writing. I love writing because I feel like I get paid to learn. But I didn't know you could do this for a living, frankly. And so I just started blogging on my on back when we used to use Blogger. This was a long time
Yeah.
ago. So I just started, you know, sharing my thoughts. And then I grew a little bit of a subscriber base. And then I got an email from one of my professors at Stanford, at the business school there, who really liked what I was working on and said, "Hey, I'd love to teach a class with you." And so he gave me kind of carte blanche to create a class at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. And then later I taught that class at the Hasselplaner Institute of Design. And one thing kind of led to another, and I thought I was going to start another company, but it turned out that what I ended up doing was this writing and researching practice that I really enjoy. But it happened really organically. I never set out to write a book. In fact, my first book, Hooked, which has sold over 500,000 copies,
Yeah.
was self-published at first. I didn't know you could do this for a
Wow.
living. I just
Wow.
I just took a bunch of my blog posts and put them in a book. and self-published on Kindle, direct publishing, KDP. And it was only after the book got 100 5-star reviews that I got a call from an agent that said, "What the hell are you doing? Like, you should publish this for real."
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. How did it work? And so that kind of started my professional writing career.
And that's incredible because here you are doing your thing and you're testing things out, and when you're writing a book and putting it on Kindle, you're like, you know what, nobody's gonna read it. Let me just write it. Let me just put it out there.
Yeah,
I completely
yeah.
understand that mentality, and you're not 100% sure of what it'll be, but you're so adamant on sharing that thing that and you feel like it's going to help somebody do something. You just want to do that, right? That push is so important. And I see many people not taking that first step because they're going through, I'm not good enough. Nobody wants to listen to me. People don't want to hear from me. Did you face any kind of a dilemma when not having faith in your capabilities and you were like, no, I shouldn't do it. Yes, I should. Like, what is that switch that flips? What made you do that?
Yeah, I think if you want to be an author because you want to make a lot of money, or because you want to be world famous, or you want to hit some arbitrary bestseller list, uh, you're just bad at math because the odds are infinitesimal. And so the advice I give authors is the same advice I give startup founders, that you only become an author or a startup founder if there's nothing else you can do, meaning you feel like you have to do this. So whether it's a startup product,
Yeah,
the right reason to build a startup is because you believe that your product needs to exist in the world, that it bugs you that this thing doesn't exist. It's not to make a lot of money, it's not to IPO, it's not to be the next Elon Musk. It's to build something because it needs to fricking exist.
yeah.
And if nobody but you uses it, that's fine because you built something that you yourself wanted.
Mm,
And so that's exactly how I look at my books. I love the fact that over 1 million people have bought my books. That's amazing. It warms my heart. I'm eternally grateful. But I'll be really honest with you, Ian. I don't write my books for my readers.
mm,
I write my books for me because it's only when I have something I want to solve and I've read everybody else's books on the topic, and I still can't find the answer. 9 times out of 10, I read somebody else's book and I say, wow, this is amazing. How much information and knowledge and wisdom have I gained from this book? That's it. My problem's solved.
yeah,
But every once in a while, about every 5 years has been my record to date, there's a problem that I look around and I can't find anyone else who has answered the question. So
yeah,
for me, my books are how-to books. So book number one, Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products, how to build habit-forming products. I looked around and I tried to find a book on how to do this. I couldn't find it. There was
yeah.
lots of books on personal habits. There were no books on how to create products that create habits. And
Mm,
so I wrote Hooked. I wrote that book for myself because I wanted the answer. Same with Indistractable. I read a bunch of books on how to deal with distraction.
yeah,
And every book kind of said the same thing. Stop using technology.
yeah,
The kind of advice that only a professor who's tenured could give because
yeah,
professors can't get fired.
yeah,
And so they tell you, well, stop checking email. Well, thanks, stupid. That's not really helpful.
yeah,
I have to
yeah,
check email. So it's not really helpful to have the kind of philosophy that a lot of other books in the field propose. And I wanted a tech positive approach to distraction. That yes, we can get the best out of these tools without letting them get the best of us. And so Indistractable, as far as I know, is the only book that does that. That lets you keep your technologies, feel
yeah,
good about using your technology,
yeah,
and yet live a life of purpose without regret. So
yeah,
that's what Indistractable is
yeah.
about. And so it's
It's
always
really
been about
interesting.
following my curiosity.
Yeah, I love it. And I wrote the word curiosity here just now before you mentioned it. And I was going to ask you, is it your curiosity that drives you to, is that a power to have? Is that something people should invest in?
Yeah.
Be more curious
It's
because,
it's absolutely, I think it's the okay, so it's the most important thing as an author because when you read a nonfiction book and you know that the author didn't have a good time writing the book, that book is boring.
yeah,
It's awful. Nobody wants to read those kind of books. So I don't write books about things I know. I write books about things I want to know. And people don't understand what an amazing life hack it is. Like, I have a PhD level education
yeah,
in how to build habit forming products. I have a PhD level education in how to control your attention and choose your life,
yeah,
the subtitle of Indistractable. So it's incredible. You don't have to pay anybody, you don't have to get anybody's permission. It doesn't matter if you sell any copies. I write these books for me because I want the freaking answer.
yeah,
And I think that comes through on the page because when my reader reads that and they can see that I'm on the trail of this mystery, I'm trying to hunt down the answer.
yeah.
That's exciting to read.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. No, it's so important for us to understand these exact things that you're talking about. Number one, we always hear that, okay, you know what, technology is making us dumber, and then, your phone is taking all your time. I understand all those discussions is great. Obviously don't be glued to a screen the entire day because there's other things you should be doing and use technology as a tool to do whatever. I understand that. But sometimes people get into are just kind of fixated in a specific zone, whether it's the zone of I can't do this, I shouldn't do this, oh, I'm nobody, who's going to do this? Um, and then even thinking, oh, I'm not curious enough. I don't have that skill to go and analyze a leaf and then to write a book. But no, if you analyze 10,000 leaves somehow, then you know something about those leaves. And it's really about, I guess, creating a niche or finding out this one specific thing, I think, that you can talk about, because the world of being a generalist is a bit tough. There's a lot of generality out there. There's the internet out there to find general information, but not specific path to that investigative route that you said you took or
Yeah.
authors take. So that's really incredible. Um,
Yeah, you really want to steer clear of just regurgitating information. I think, and that's I see a lot of books, especially in my genre of nonfiction, like pop psychology, business type stuff, where people just repeat what's already been said, right? If I see the goddamn Eisenhower matrix one
yeah,
more time, I'm gonna
yeah,
barf. I mean,
yeah,
we see this again and again and again. It's, if you want that stuff, just go on LinkedIn, right? Your
yeah,
LinkedIn feed is full of the same recycled management mumbo jumbo you've seen a million times. Much of it is very helpful,
yeah,
but for the sophisticated reader, they've seen it, right? So we don't need more books that just regurgitate information. And we really don't need it now that ChatGPT and these other LLMs can do it in seconds.
yeah,
What we need is people to be original. We need curiosity. We need surprise. That's what makes for a fun read. It's not the same old crap. It's what's your unique perspective? What did you learn in your lifetime
yeah.
that other people don't know? That's what readers want. They want to be surprised.
Totally. Let's talk about lessons and teachings from both Hooked and Indistractable, because they're both incredible. I would love to ask you about, the top three insights from, let's say, Hooked. What is it that readers can take away from this conversation from Hooked, and then probably get hooked and read Hooked and get hooked with it, right?
Yeah.
So, what is in
Well,
Hooked that's so interesting?
yeah. So the it's not for everybody. I think that's there's an old saying in product design that if you try and please everyone, you satisfy no one.
Mm,
So that's the first thing. Not everybody should read Hooked. Hooked is specifically written for product people, people who are
okay.
building apps and websites and services, people who are building a business that requires repeat engagement. So if you are that type of person, if you're building
Yeah.
some kind of product you want people to come back to use, you want to build a healthy habit,
Yeah.
a fitness app, Duolingo uses the hooked model to get people hooked to language
Well,
learning. Fitbod uses the hooked model to get
yep.
people hooked to exercise. So you can use this methodology, but the big tagline of the book, the promise of the book is that behavior can be designed, that we can use products not just to get people hooked or even addicted to frivolity like social media or
Yeah.
the news or whatever kind of stuff just wastes our time, but really we can use the same psychological principles to build healthy habits in
Mm.
users' lives. That's the promise of the book.
And can you use hooked to, oh God, I'm thinking about so many things all of a sudden. What can you use hooked for? Can you use hooked, the principles in hooked, to create a social media strategy? I'm just ballparking.
Yeah.
Let's say you need to strategize for something. Can you use hook? Because I'm thinking about Cialdini principles here. I'm like, okay, he talked about a bunch of things. Does hooked go into the science of getting people to repeat a behavior? Like, what's the underneath it?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really for people who want so Influence is a great book. Cialdini did amazing work. So that's about singular behaviors, right? How do I get someone to close a deal with me? How do I get someone to open my newsletter? How do I, very singular behaviors. Hooked is for repeat behaviors. It's for habits. How do I get people to open my app every day? How do I build loyalty in a customer so they use me every single time with little or no
Wow.
conscious thought as opposed to considering my competition? That's who Hooked is for. So there are some principles that
Yeah.
everyone can use piecemeal.
Yeah.
For example, the concept of variable rewards. If you're not familiar with that concept from the work of B.F. Skinner, intermittent reinforcement is what it's called. This is why we love mystery. This is why we love to read a good book when we don't know the ending. Why we like to watch sports, right? Who
Yeah.
cares about some ball bouncing around a court? It's because we don't know what's going to happen. So that's the kind of principle that you can adopt straight out of Hooked. Standing on the shoulders of
Yeah.
giants like B.F. Skinner, who taught us about intermittent reinforcement. And then you can ask yourself, well, how can I make my product stickier? Even if it's writing a book or an email newsletter or a social media post, how do you keep people hooked and engaged by using some of these psychological principles?
I love it. I think it's incredible, and I really recommend everybody grabbing a copy, go to the library, borrow it, buy it, do whatever, but read the book. It's really
Thanks.
very intriguing. I'm fascinated. Let's talk about indistractable. And you're talking
Sure.
about, how to control your attention and choose your life. Is it about digital detox, not using technology?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I'm not a fan of digital detoxing. It doesn't work. In fact, it makes you want it more. And we can talk about the psychology of that. So if Hooked is about how do you build good habits with the technology we use, Indistractable is about how do you break the bad habits with all kinds of potential distractions. For most people, too much email, too much news, too much social media, that's top of mind these days. But there's all kinds of distractions, right? Whether it's too much booze, too many cigarettes, too much chocolate cake if you're on a diet, anything that is against your better interest, anything that is not what you say you're going to do with your time and attention. Because I really think that there's a bifurcation going on right now where there are really two types of people. There are going to be people who are manipulated and controlled by media forces. And we already see this happening, whether it's cable news, whether it's legacy media, whether it's social media. People are becoming more and more dependent on media to mediate their feelings. They think the media is there to mediate the information that's going into their brain. No, no,
Yeah.
no. Actually, if you look at the deeper psychology around why we get distracted, it's because we are using media to mediate how we feel. These are
Mm,
called internal triggers. It turns out that, did you know that 90% of the time that you check your phone, 90% of the time that you check your phone,
yeah.
it's not because the phone rang. It's not because of what we call an external trigger,
Yeah.
a beep, buzz, or a boop. It's not about any of those things. That's only 10% of the time you check your phone.
Yeah.
We know from time series studies that 90% of the time that people check their phone, it's not because of what's happening outside of them. They're not prompted by any kind of external trigger. It's because of an internal trigger.
Mm,
An internal trigger is an uncomfortable emotional state, boredom, loneliness, fatigue, uncertainty, anxiety. That is the source of 90% of our distractions.
yeah. Well.
So the big aha, the revelation of this book for me in my life and how it's changed my life in every conceivable way. I used to be
Yeah.
clinically obese. Today I'm 46 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
I spend more time with my family. I'm more productive at work, all because I learned how to become indistractable, starting with mastering your internal triggers,
Yeah.
or they will become your master. So that bifurcation that I talked about earlier, people who will use media to mediate these internal triggers and become slaves to media, whether
Yeah.
that's email, whether that's the news, whether that's whatever form of media that they're habituated to.
Yeah.
And then there's people who stand up and say, I am indistractable.
Mm,
I control my attention. I choose my life. And if you think the world is distracting now, just wait a few years. It is absolutely critical that we teach our children, that we teach our colleagues, that we teach our family members how to become indistractable because
yeah.
the world is only becoming a more distractible place with virtual reality and augmented reality and all the crap that's happening in reality. We
Yeah.
have got to have this fundamental skill because every aspect of your life, your physical health, your mental health, your career, every aspect of your life is dependent on your ability to control your attention. If you don't control your attention, you don't control your life.
Yeah, totally agreed. I couldn't agree more. I was just thinking about, the early days of when cell phones emerged and we had these new devices, and many people will not understand it because all they've seen is a smartphone. There wasn't this much of anxiety related to a cell phone because it would do nothing. It was just a cell phone, something
Yeah.
you would receive a call on, and there was no, smartness to it. But now it is different. And I don't know
No.
what the future brings. What kind of evolution will these devices take, and how will they appear, and how will things appear in front of us, right? They just had CES, lots of amazing technology in there. You have these glasses, they'll show you everything. So the way our attention is being taken away from us, or these things are presented to us, is dramatically changing. And I think
Yeah.
I can't predict or forecast, what
Yeah.
will 20 years from now look like.
So I would alter a little bit what you said. I don't think it's being taken away from us. I don't think it's being stolen from us. I think we're giving it away.
Mm,
And so, what I want to empower people to do is to stop the blaming and the shaming and start the claiming responsibility for the fact that, look, these tools are not going away. And frankly, distraction has always been with us. Plato, the Greek philosopher, 2,500 years before the internet, talked about this very same problem. People have always been distracted. Now, if you're looking for distraction, it's easier than ever to find. But it's not something that we can't fight. In fact, we are way more powerful. I don't care what super duper technologies come about. If you understand the psychology of distraction, if
mhm.
you understand that it's not the tools, it's your desire to escape psychological discomfort, and you know what to do about that, and it's not that hard, folks. It's really not, right? You spend a couple hours with my book, I promise you, you can become indistractable. If you know that,
Yeah.
there's no distraction you can't overcome. I don't care what the technology is.
I love it. Nir, there's so much to talk about, but we're out of time for this interview for the Undisrupted Summit. Tell us where we can find you. Obviously, books are available everywhere online, but what's your website? Give us your social media if you can.
Sure. The best place to find my work is Near and Far. It's spelled like my first name, Nir. So that's Nir and Far, nearandfar.com. And the first book is called Hooked, How to Build Habit Forming Products. And my second book is Indistractable, How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life.
Incredible. Nir, thank you so much. And we love the ideas you shared. I absolutely loved your two books, hearing
Thank
about
you.
them. I am going to get a copy each today. I'm going to find them somewhere. I really want to get into what is going on, what should we do, and learning from your teachings. Everybody else, hey, folks, if you're watching this, whoever's watching it, grab a copy of Nir's book, follow him on social media, and ask him whatever you want to ask him. I don't know, on LinkedIn or one of his platforms. Nir, thank you, and we love you for what you do. Thank you so much for taking your time out speaking with us.
Appreciate it, Ian.
All
Thank
right,
you.
take care. Thanks. Bye.